Caribbean fashion has always been rich in color, culture, and creativity. But too often, our designers have struggled to access the international platforms that can take their brands to the next level. The Caribbean Fashion Collective was created to change that. Founded by Jamaican fashion show producer, model, and creative strategist Xavier Walker, the Collective is dedicated to creating year-round opportunities for Caribbean designers while showcasing the region's talent on some of the world's biggest stages, including New York Fashion Week. Its mission is to celebrate Caribbean creativity while giving emerging designers greater global visibility and commercial opportunities. Well, joining us now via Zoom is the founder and CEO of the Caribbean Fashion Collective, Xavier Walker. Good morning, Xavier.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Good morning, everyone.
So, Xavier, what inspired you to create the Caribbean Fashion Collective, and what gap did you see in the industry that you needed to fill?
Honestly, the inspiration come from like I always want to do it, but doubted myself that I can do it, even though I was producing shows for different individuals. But I'm like, yeah, I can't do it because taking on the Caribbean is not easy because we little but we Talawa and it's a lot of us. So after sitting on this idea for 4 years, I did a show like I think 2 years ago, and the designer was like, walk out with me. And I'm like, no, this is your moment. Like normally you don't see the show producer, it's the designer. Anyway, he said, walk out with me. I did a walk with him, and from just that walk, a lot of publication came from that. People reach out to me there at the venue in my DMs asking to help produce their show, but not everybody has a huge budget to put on their individual fashion show. So after sitting on the idea for 4 years, I decided to go ahead and start the collective. I told my two co-founders, Narca and Stuart Deville, like to join me, and they were like, "Okay, say less." And we started CFC, and we had our first show last September, which was phenomenal. So I see a lot of gap in terms of like Caribbean designers are we're here, yes, but we're not getting a lot of visibility. There's only a few, who make it into the room. So it's like if we can help bridge that gap, then why not?
Now, there are talented designers throughout the Caribbean, but many never make it onto the global stage. What are the biggest barriers that they face, Xavier?
Especially facing designers from the Caribbean, their thing is they're not here in the States. So a dollar is not a dollar. So therefore it's going to be a bit more pricey for them. So one thing we realize the bars for them is lack of funding and also lack of like resources. So they don't know which manufacturer to go to because not everybody wants to take their product to China. And we do understand the reason why. So we're trying to also see how we can link them with manufacturers in the Caribbean as well, instead of, going to China as well. Even though it's a little bit more pricey, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
And the collective is, I know, preparing for another showcase at the New York Fashion Week. That's huge. So, what does that opportunity mean for the designers that you've selected beyond simply just, walking a runway?
So we had over 108 applications this year, which is bizarre. A lot from Trinidad, I must say. So thank you guys from Trinidad. A lot is from Trinidad. One of the things that we do is provide education. Besides the runway show, we always tell the designers like, listen, we will be your PR person, meaning we will put on a show for you. We get the Elle magazine, the Harper's Bazaar, the Getty Images there. But at the end of the day, you have to take that momentum and run with it. What we do beside fashion show is also educate designers like what it is to have a proper lookbook, what is a lookbook, what is the best way to meet your consumer. So we don't always provide education. We also bring in speakers and provide online workshops where they can learn and ask questions. So we try to give them the tool to the best of our ability, and it's up to them to take that tool and do what they want to do with it.
Now, when you're choosing designers to represent the Caribbean, what qualities are you looking for? Is it craftsmanship, originality, storytelling, or maybe even a combination of all three?
Yes, a different combination of all three because at the end of the day, yes, we are, every Caribbean country is different and everyone tells their stories differently. Some Jamaica, the way how we design is different from how Trinidad design, for example. So therefore, we have to make sure we have that craftsmanship, storytelling, and everything in it. But one thing we also looked at is your finish. Your product has to be clean. It cannot be like a 2-year-old design it, or you're just, going into design school and, it's not is messy. We can't do that only because we even learned last season with somebody approached by Macy's, which we didn't know until 2 weeks afterwards. So we invite people to come to these shows to see the individuals. So therefore, we have to make sure what we put on the runway makes sense. And then this is from Carnival Catwalk with Rome and the team. They were here last year, and I reached out to Rome and said, "Hey, I want you guys to be a part of the show." And they take part in our show last year as well.
Now, the
And
Caribbean
then
fashion, Xavier, really often draws inspiration from our culture and our history and environment. You would definitely agree with that. So, how do you
100%.
encourage your designers to stay authentic while still appealing to an international market?
It's so funny because we had a meeting 2 months ago with a few designers, and we said to them, like, at the end of the day, we want to make sure the stuff that you have can sell. So it's good to make, certain, like, say, let's say, custom make pieces or avant-garde pieces, if that's your style, but also try to make something that's ready to wear, not just for the Caribbean diaspora, but also for the United States or any other country, for example. Because if you're giving it a platform to produce or to showcase your collection here, you would also be mindful. Is your collection also catering to this specific market or only the Caribbean market? So we also try to tell them like, listen, keep your identity, but bear in mind like you're branching out now, so you have to see like what market you're branching into and what that market is demanding, and see if you can tailor your design to that as well. But don't lose who you are.
Now, the collective isn't just about showcasing fashion. I know you're creating long-term opportunities. So tell us, what kind of exposure or business connections can designers realistically expect after participating?
Sure. At the end of the day, as I mentioned before, we invite people to come to the show. We cannot force them to come, but we do invite people to come to the show. What they can expect of the show besides media, because it's so funny because one of our friends was in the show last year and they were talking about Elle magazine. I'm like, huh? But to me, because we've been producing shows, like Elle magazine is just the norm, but to them that's huge. So besides giving them the publication that they deserve, is the fact that we try to build, as I said with the workshop, we try to build long-term longevity to educate them to see what they can get. We bring in stylists to see who like, let's say they like whose design they like, who can they can dress a client in it. So we try our best to like connect them to the best of our ability, but it's up to these individuals to like, make that connection as well. Like we can speak to you for so far and no further.
And sustainability is really about, it has become, I should say, a major conversation in fashion globally. Are you seeing Caribbean designers embracing ethical production and environmentally conscious designs?
Yes, especially one of her designs from last year. Her name is Gaynella. She's from Barbados. She literally created her whole entire design about sustainability, and even Nabala from Trinidad as well. Like we spoke with her. So a lot of the designers are getting into the sustainability era, which is perfect. Well, I won't call it era because it is good regardless of the environment. Um, so we encourage that a lot, and then even though the other day we tell designers like we don't want any fur on the runway only because we have to go with the New York Fashion Week guideline. It's okay to have fake fur, but you can have any real fur as well. So we're literally trying to educate them a lot to like, listen, fast fashion is a thing, yes, but you have to also be mindful like sustainability is also important.
Now, looking ahead, Xavier, where do you hope the Caribbean Fashion Collective will be in the next 5 years? What success look like for the region's fashion industry?
What success look like for me is finding a designer that the CFDA will look at and take under their wings and create a household name with them, just like what they've done for a few others as well. Um, what Success Look for us is also doing our Caribbean tour for designers who cannot make it here to the States. We are planning our Caribbean tour for the future to bring New York Fashion Week to the Caribbean and keep our partners like Elle Magazine Harper's that are on board to say they would be interested to also publish these images. So we're trying to bring to the Caribbean what they can come and get here in the States, if that makes sense. Because
Thank you.
one of our biggest barriers as well, we realize designers want to participate in Fashion Week, but they don't have a visa. Yes, we can give an invitation letter, but it's up to the government, the U.S. embassy to give you that visa. We kind of force them to give you that visa. So we realize they're locking. There's a lot of funding, a lot of like networking, a lot of is a lot missing that each Caribbean country need to look into to say they can better assist their designers. Because they're very talented. I've seen a few from last year and this year is a lot of talented designers, but it's just the fact that they just don't have the proper funding. And eventually, we are also working to obtain grants where we don't need to charge designers to come on board. We see you, we like your design, we invite you. If you can make it, you can. If you can't, we understand. But for right now, our program is designer funded, meaning that you pay to be a part of the fashion collective.
All right. Well, thank you very, very, very much, Xavier. And also, we wish you and all the participating designers every success at New York Fashion Week. Have a good day. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. And that was Xavier Walker joining us, talking all about the Caribbean Fashion Collective.